Okay, guys, just to continue on from our house project, I'm going to talk about costing within Revit. So within Revit, you can actually calculate the cost of materials. You can calculate the cost of the building as a complete building as your model. It's one of the most powerful features of Revit. There are much more powerful plugins now and BIM tools dedicated to costing, which include Costex has been probably the leaders in that kind of field. So QSs do use more dedicated software, but for general design ideas and that kind of stuff, it's worth knowing how you can embed costing into your model just as a starting point for designing and keeping track of the project costs and that kind of stuff. So this review will kind of go over a couple of methods of doing that. Now, it's important to note that there are two different types of costing within your model. There's costing that refers to system components, which include the walls, the roofs, or the walls, roofs, and floors. They're what's known as system families, or component families, which include doors, windows, furniture, and that kind of things. Each type of costing method is different for each of these kind of families. So I'm going to go over the various methods of costing based on this method. We're actually going to go into the much more detail as you go along and actually break down the individual material costs or takeoffs, the material takeoffs, as it's known in the industry. So we're going to actually go into the material takeoffs for a building and kind of understand how much certain materials can cost and add all that up together as well to give an overall cost. So it can be quite powerful. It can also get quite quite intensive in terms of the amount of data you might have to deal with, especially with spreadsheets and that kind of stuff. So yeah, just I'll keep it as basic as possible, just so you understand the processes involved. Most of the information comes from spawns for costings and that, although you can get it from manufacturers as well. Most QSs will use the spawns guides for their data, which is updated annually. I have copies of some spawns on Google Classroom for you to use, as well as some sample data from other projects that you can use to understand general costing. But as I said, costing is not so important at this stage. It's probably more to understand how you embed costing within the model itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with component families calculations method. So this is slightly more simpler. This is probably the simplest method of calculation. So that includes calculate the doors, windows, furniture, that kind of thing. Okay, so if you click on, for example, a door, I'll just zoom in, click on a door, and I go to edit type. Obviously, I've used standard door types in this model. The idea would be you can get manufactured door types or more detailed door information and properties. If I go to edit type and I zoom down here, you'll see a lot of data attached to these kind of components in that. So you go to identity data. Within here, you have a lot of information related to the actual product specification of that door. Okay, so this door is a concept door, but I can type in the manufacturer's data. I can type in the assembly code. I can give a URL, the fire rating. I can give the acoustic rating, so I can get all this information from the manufacturer and put it into the model. If the manufacturer doesn't already have a Revit component model family to download, so you can actually do that manually yourself. But we're interested here in the cost, so you'll see a cost box there as well, so you can actually manually type in the cost within there. Now, cost is rarely ever found within any component families, just because the cost will always change over time. So manufacturers never put them onto their models. The key would be to actually go and obviously identify the door that you want, get the costings from your manufacturers that you're interested in supplying from, and then update your model with the most recent cost from them. Okay, so that's typical process. Although you can put in initial data if you want, but ideally put the actual figure in to get more accurate complete figure. So if I was to go here and click in cost and put down, say for example, an external door costs £200, apply. So that's now set that door to £200 as a cost figure for that door. I can easily go into, for example, a window, Same process. You can go there and you can go to edit type. You'll see the information there. You can go in and add an information specific to a window or windows. Okay. If I click okay, I'll come back to this point. I'll do the windows separately because there is an easier way of doing this. It's a much more efficient way in terms of gathering the data that you need. This involves calculating the total cost of everything, but also creating a schedule to create an itemized cost of all the items that you're going to be costing, and then producing a cost calculation for all the different components that you're costing out. For example, doors or windows in this case. So I'm going to go over that initial step with you guys next. So what we're going to do is create a schedule for initially. So to create a schedule, it's like creating any other schedule. You go to View, Schedules, Schedules and Quantities. So the kind of schedule we're going to start off with is a door schedule. So we're going to do a initial costing on doors, since that's what we're looking at just now. So if you go to create door schedule, you can name what you want. So door schedule costing, for example, if you've got a specific kind of title you want to put against your one. Sometimes you might have a door schedule on its own that's separate from your costings, so you might want to do different ones. Schedule, this all stays the same. It's a new construction. Click OK. Now within here, it's basically like creating an Excel sheet with a dialog box. Okay, so here you've got to select what information that you want on your schedule, and it will automatically kind of track that information from the products themselves or the product components themselves into that schedule. So for example, we want to know what type of door that is, what type of door we've got. So if you go down to family and types, so if we go down to family and type, that, and then these little buttons here indicate kind of add parameter to your schedule. So this will add that kind of parameter into your schedule that you want to view. The other thing we want to know is obviously the cost. So if you go up to cost, you can add that in as well. And that's it. That's all we need to do for now, and you click OK. And what that will generate is a door schedule, okay, with initial costings in it. Okay, so I'll just spread that out a bit. So this is all the doors in my model just now. Okay, so it's went and looked at all the doors in the model and put them into. So you can see I've got they're all pretty much the same except for that external door, which all the internal ones are exactly the same. So that's what I've not changed about any of the internal ones. That's I'll show you how to do that in a bit. But if you go down to your project browser now, you should see under schedules that will appear now under schedule. So you can always come back here and find it there as well. So if you ever want to come back and look at that. So if I go to see my door that we've already fixed, so that initial door that we looked at, which was a ground floor external door. So if I go back to my 3D, we'd already assigned that as 200. Okay, I can go in individually and go into, for example, ground floor, and then select that internal door, which is the 910 by 2110, edit type, and change it manually there. But there's an easier way of doing this. This is probably where a lot of people find it more efficient doing it this way. Is actually you can actually go into here and then manually type in the cost within the spreadsheet itself. So if I go, for example, internal door cost, say £75, click enter. It will ask me, do you want to change the properties of this door type to include that cost? And that all that's asking is basically, do you want to change the properties of that door type within the model to cost 75? In which case, yes, that door, the 910 by 2110 will be cost £75 each. So I click OK, and that'll automatically change all the door types, the cost for all those doors based on that type. Okay. If I go back to ground floor, and for example, if I change one of these doors, if I go change, say this one to, say if I change that to a double door, ignore that. Okay, move this up. If I go back to my schedules, so if I go schedules, door schedule, you'll see now that's gone. That top one's changed to to a double concept door. Okay, again, same thing applies. I might want to add in a double new cost, which is for example, so 140, under £40. Again, it will ask me, do you want to change this for every door type of that same properties or same family and type? And click yes. Okay, so you can actually do it manually here. Also, you can actually, if you know the door that's referring to, again, if you can create more detailed schedules by numbering doors, by putting by having each door numbered on that. So within a model, you can actually number doors, so people can identify which door that is on the actual plan based on the number. You can actually add more. Again, you can actually go and manually change these here as well. So you can say door number 125 is going to be now 810 by that. So if I change that again, I can change that costing to 255. So that might be £65 for example. Click OK. So yeah, it's quite powerful here to kind of do a lot of the costings within this rather than have to do it manually within the actual model. I guess most people prefer doing this because it's more used to how you use Excel. And yeah, it's a much more simpler way of doing it. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is calculate the totals, or the total figures for our doors. In order to do this, if you go to sorting and grouping within the properties browser, sorting and grouping, click edit. Within here, if you go to click on grand totals, and then once you're here, you go to formatting, and then under cost, make sure calculate totals is ticked on, so it calculates the total of the cost field, and then click OK. And now you'll see 780 as a total. Okay, so if you know the units, you can also change the units. So if you go to manage and you go to project units, you can change the currency. If I can find the currency, yeah, currency to pounds. Click OK. Click OK. And that will now change all the currencies to pounds. So for all our doors inside this house, we've got 8 number of doors on order, and the total cost of the doors will be £780 based on our specification for all the doors. Okay, and that concludes pretty much how you do a component cost for any of the doors, windows, furniture, anything like that, any of the component items within your model. That's a simplest calculation method for calculating parts of your project.